and a side that is stuck in the premiership window, and many think are the favourites for the premiership this year, is the Collingwood Football Club. In an absolute blistering performance on the weekend, was this the best performance we've seen of 2025, Geordie?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we spoke about it post-game and we said it was a game that you stand up and take notice if you hadn't already. So they just controlled the game. When you look at it, there was no way which Hawthorn could either defend or move the ball. They just set themselves up so well. So you look at that, the interceptor score for and against is a huge marker of how well you are going as a system, both offensively and defensively.
One player that stood up and potentially All-Australian was leading the Coleman until Jeremy Cameron bagged 5 on the weekend, Bucks, is Jamie Elliott. His rise to, I suppose, nearly the best small forward in the competition has come pretty fast.
Well, it's all shaped forwards. I mean, he's been excellent. He's played as a legitimate full forward, and that's been a little bit around field position. But the work that he does and the work rate off ball is extreme, and his teammates are looking for him. That was the very first inside 50 from the very first centre bounce. He only needs to get half a metre on his opponent. Have a look just at the bottom of the screen here. He'll lengthen out and go to goal square really quickly, which draws his defender to him and gives him enough space to come back up at the ball. So he often finds himself nearly like the old school full forward, not standing in the goal square, but he always creates this leading space for himself. And if he is in front, his teammates will give it to him because they know he's such a good finisher. And just here, like Josh Weddle's no slouch. So Jamie Elliott's got legitimate speed, he's got great timing, he's getting good service from players in front of him who have got time and space. But he's a handful because he's always been a really good aerial player, but his timing and his football smarts are just as good.
So where does he sit in terms of speed at the club?
Oh, in the first 5, he'd be as quick as anyone.
Has he always had that craft? Like, because that's pure full forward craft there, Brownie, isn't it? Just the little small tick leads. And when you talk about tick leads, it's back to create the space and then come up. Is that something that he's always had?
It is, and he's in front of a really solid system at the moment. You know, when we were playing our best footy in 18-19, it might have been Jaden Stevenson in 2018, Hoskin Elliott that was out the back. Jamie didn't play a game in 2018. He would have been handy in that very role, and that's the role he's playing at the moment. But I just think he can win contested ball on the ground, and we've seen that. He puts fierce pressure on. He can win the ball in the air. He used to take hangers every other week, but now he's sort of a little more circumspect with that. But geez, he's just a tough matchup. And when's the last time?
Well, not many have got those type of defenders, have they? No, well, that hybrid type defender that shuts them down.
Well, I'm just trying to think across just at the top of your head, who is set up as a defender in the modern game to play like a Chris Langford or a Sauce? There's just no one that really has had now the key backs play up on the wing on their key forwards. And the ones that have to play on a player like Jamie Elliott, you haven't been exposed. Like Josh Battle hasn't been exposed to that much space with that player, with that much time to be able to, and the forward craft to be able to move. It's a question that's going to be asked. You need to have a player that can actually defend that guy to be able to beat the best teams in September.
I think a couple that come to mind would be Starcevic from Brisbane when healthy. And Cal Wilkie's probably the other one that can go tall and small. Brownie, the defensive side of the game for the Pies, we've lauded it already this season. It feels like it's on repeat. It is just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, this is why I think Collingwood, there's a gap between Collingwood and the rest of the pack at the moment. They've been fantastic. Number 1 offensively, number 1 defence. So this is why, though. Look at the full team buy-in. So every role, whether you're in the small circle, as Bucks calls it, it's your turn to go and apply maximum pressure there, or whether you're set up on the outer perimeter, in this case, we'll show from behind the ball. Look at that. That's just a dream run for defenders, isn't it? When everything's working beautifully, hand in glove up the field, it's raffling the intercept mark, and then these individual efforts. So I'm seeing this all across the field for all 4 quarters. Look at Harry Perriman, way to endear yourself to your new teammates. Just sticks at it. He had to turn 3 or 4 different directions. It gets there with a brilliant smother. Outstanding stuff. So individual efforts, put them all together, and it's a great team system, isn't it? So they're all working well.
Surprise, surprise, the intercept game is where Collingwood have been able to dominate. And you see there that they're the best team at getting it from intercept to score. For and against.
You can't have it. And that's the first time ever that a team has done that after round 12, for and against.
And you can't have a great intercept game unless you've got a great at-ball game, like the pressure that you put on at the contest, in the coalface, because otherwise then the opposition are coming out with time and space. And where you've set up in a layer as an intercept player, the ball goes through you, around you, or over you. So you need that pressure on ball, and the balance is really good for the Pies.
Big improvement on last year, wasn't it? Like, it was 2023, they were like that. I think they've got better from 23. Last year, it really dropped off that part of their game.
So how do you get them? How can you beat Collingwood, the juggernaut?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think, backing up what these guys were saying, I think the greatest challenge for teams is to realise where their advantage is. So this is a time where Hawthorn got through. So I think it's okay to probe. It's okay to go side to side and have a look. And what you need to become really good at is counting the numbers further afield to realise where your advantage is with this Collingwood side, because they come over
as the ball carrier.
As the ball carrier, because what they do is they come over, and as soon as they lock you away, they understand where this ball will go. So you just see here the two players in the middle of the ground from Hawthorn. If they stay there, they give Collingwood what they want down the line. They need numerical advantage around this contest, but right now, when that kick leaves the foot, it is equal numbers ahead of the ball. So you talk about tackling Hawthorn, their tackling numbers are down. Well, you can't tackle if you're outnumbered, but this particular play, when you go one-on-one and you make them generally defend, you get options. Now, this option came out the back of the ball, out the back of the pack for Nick Watson. But when I watch Collingwood time and time again, when they get through or they force a side down the line, they have an advantage, whether it's be one player, two players, three players. That fuels their offensive game.
Well, that's what Geelong did without the back and forward at the beginning. As soon as Geelong picked a side on the MCG against the Pies a month ago, they were already set up with even numbers skinny, and they went there long and they went fast to contest and then wanted to speed up off that. They refused to sit in their back half, over-possessing the ball and allowing Collingwood to feel like they could set up and dominate from a field position perspective. So we should expect to see that more against the Collingwood team.
If you get yourself caught on the open side trying to drag the Collingwood players out from the corridor to give yourself room to move, you're in the wrong spot.
Let's head to the other side of Friday night, the Hawthorn Football Club, and this is starting to become a reoccurring conversation. Where is Sam Mitchell's biggest issue right now for his team?
I think, collectively is the easiest answer, but, I think when sides go really well, and we've been really lucky to be in sides that this happens to, the little things get taken care of. The stuff that happens off the ball, the numbers that we've spoken about just before get taken care of. The patterns of the game get taken care of. I mean, you can look at the tackle count in its totality, and they were smashed in the tackle count.
44.
44. So they had 38 tackles v Collingwood, 36 a week before for Brisbane. So you watch the tape, and you realise that they're actually not in. They're not in a position to tackle. So there comes the challenge. Get yourself in a position to tackle. But I just think...
But what's that down to, the main reason you think?
Well, I think it comes down to on-field leadership, personally. So when you don't have the ball, the communication that happens, the ability to set up the ground, like Collingwood, they're probably at the stage now where they don't even have to talk. They are so well versed.
So how does Sam Mitchell fix that then? Like, is it because we've heard this week that the old mouth guards in come to training has started to rear its head again, where tackling performances or
it can't happen this week. They play Thursday night.
They play Thursday night. Are they in need of something like that?
Well, potentially, yeah. I mean, 2 weeks in a row where the numbers are quite stark. But I think you need to look deeper. Like, is it attitude and intent? Yeah, there's certainly a bit of that, but there's got to be some coaching around it to get yourself in a position to be able to tackle, right? So constantly on the weekend, and even the week before, numbers at the contest hasn't been Hawthorn's strength, which means they haven't been in the contest to tackle, or they haven't been in a winning position to win that particular ground ball or stoppage, and then to be able to fuel their offence.
Something that's happening at the moment that you wouldn't think to your eye is just the transition that Hawthorn have been able to get with their offence and defence. Like in the last 6 rounds, the unbroken change from defensive to inside 50% is their first, and they're actually stopping the opposition, the best at stopping the opposition from unbroken chains. But they're just unbroken chains, let's remember that. So when the ball goes to contest through the midfield, they must be losing a disproportionate amount of those.
Yep.
So if you get a long kick to contest, or the one that you showed was an unbroken chain because Collingwood hadn't touched it. But when it gets into dispute, they're not winning enough contests through the middle of the field it's coming back and then they're getting scored against, or they're not being able to get through themselves. So
I think personnel-wise, gradually players lost form. So very rare you play the top 3 teams on the ladder 3 weeks in a row. So they were galling against Gold Coast.
It doesn't get any easier, does it?
No, it doesn't. And then against Collingwood, they've got a tough Bulldogs game, Marvel Stadium Thursday night. Then Adelaide in Tassie the week after. Then a bye. I think they need the bye now though, because I'm looking at personnel. So players losing form, losing confidence, and then I look at the captain. And at risk of raising the ire of Mitch, Sicily's injured. He has to be injured. Like, I was watching him when he rolled down the forward line late in the first quarter.
15 minutes into the
15 minutes in. Now, he was limping. He was carrying something. Now, a lot of reports that he's had his groin or adductor. Now, I know, big man, I've been through this. When you had groin and adductor problems, you look like you can't play the game because you lose your power. So, to me, it looks like he's got an issue. So the management of Sis, the captain of the club, who's been an inspirational leader there, they need to try and work out a plan to get him back fit and healthy. Because I think, from looking on the outside, that is the case.
I watch for the Hawks and Sam Mitchell.